Hey, friends, welcome back to the Pouring Over Books podcast. I am LaShawn and friends, friends. Let's just go ahead and jump into the elephant in the room because as a lover of the romantasy genre, I'm not going to be able to concentrate until I get this out of the way, friends. Sarah J. Maas has finally broken her silence and went on the Call Her Daddy podcast and announced the dates for ACOTAR 6 and 7, and that the eighth book is being written. Finally, y'all, I feel like we, the fans, have waited forever for one book, and now we get two, and we get them back to back. Evidently, it's some long 4-part book that she divided into 3 books because they can't print books that big. The way she described it, I think of how, how Lord of the Rings, it's like, what, 3 different books, 4 different books, and the overarching story continues in each book, but it's just like different parts. It really is part 1. I consider it this, and I'm so curious as to how this is go. So cue me running around like a dog chasing their tail. I'm looking at theories online. I am confusion, but prepare to be sick of me. Prepare to be sick of me. I will talk more about this closer to release date. I'm trying to decide if I want to reread all of her books or if I just want to do the ACOTAR series and call it a day. Because as we learned with her last book, all of them overlap in some way. I'm leaning towards a total reread, but I think what I'm going to end up doing is just rereading Crescent City series and the ACOTAR series because those are the 2 that overlap the most. I've read Throne of Glass so much, I can back and forth, I can tell you what's going on in that book, all the details. But the other 2, I have not reread either one of those series since 2022 when the last Crescent City book came out. So it's been about 4 years since I've reread that series in its entirety. I think I've reread like maybe 1 or 2 books here or there. Actually, for Crescent City, I haven't reread it at all since the last book. And for, let me see, and for ACOTAR, I think I read A Court of Thorns and Roses, but I haven't read any of the others, especially the last book. I have not touched that since it came out. So it's time. I'll probably end up doing a lot of it on audio because that's a lot of books and a lot of time, which leads me, friends, to our topic of today, which is audiobooks. So when I first started listening to audiobooks about, I guess, 10 years ago now, Born a Crime had just been released in 2016, and that's the first audiobook I ever listened to. I only knew about audio. Audible, I mean. It seemed easy enough because I was already in the Amazon ecosystem with Kindle Unlimited, and I had started getting ebooks on my Kindle instead of my Nook with Barnes and Noble. So, because they had like a bigger catalog, and people love Audible. It's easy to see why it became so popular. I mean, they have the biggest audiobook collection, including many audiobooks that are available only through Audible. Some audiobook listeners see this as a plus, while others, hate Audible because it's restricting access to these audiobooks across other platforms. And it's convenient. But as the years have passed, there are so many more options out there that I feel compelled to help you figure them out and to figure out which one is best for you. Now, disclaimer, I'm not telling you that you can't use Amazon. Au contraire, my friend. This do what's best for you. There really is no judgment here. Everyone has different budgets, values, and access. But like I said, I feel honor bound to discuss these simply because some folks honestly don't know that they have alternatives. And there are so many, my friends, so many. FYI, before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and say that I have used every last one of these that I am going to talk about at some point today. I may or may not still be using most of these. Full transparency. My Audible membership is currently on hold, but I do have access to all of my books that I previously purchased while the membership is on hold, which I use a lot. And I'm going to, because all of my ACOTAR books are on there, and so are all of my Crescent City books. It is what it is. Anyway, let's get started. We are going to start with my absolute favorite, which is Libro FM. The setup is similar to Audible. The subscription is $15 a month, which gets you 1 credit to spend per book, which you own forever. My favorite part about Libro FM is that the membership supports local independent bookstores. You can choose a specific bookstore you want to support. They have excellent sales all the time. I mean, like 1.99, 99-cent books. Yeah, it's great. And to sweeten the pot, Libro FM is currently offering 2 free audiobooks when you start a new 1 credit per month membership. Use the code SWITCH. You can buy individual titles a la carte. And another thing, unlike Audible, you can pause or cancel your membership and not lose credits. With Audible, you can only pause to keep your credits, not cancel, which is why mine is paused. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. The next alternative is Chirp Audiobooks. Chirp is not a subscription site. Instead, it's just like a flash deal site for audiobooks, and there is no membership required. You can just download the audiobooks without committing to a subscription. I rarely use this, but it is a great alternative if I'm trying to save some money, and I use it mainly for backlist titles. The next one that I want to talk about is Everend. Everend, formerly known as Scribd, is one of my favorite Audible alternatives because they have a ton of books in their catalog, but I don't like their new plan structure, so I don't use it as much as I used to. The lower price plan, which is what I have, now includes 1 unlock of a premium, quote unquote, audiobook per month. Now, this includes bestsellers and new releases and unlimited access to the remaining non-premium, titles. So I mainly use Everend for backlist titles now. I used to use it. You could find almost anything on there, but with the new pricing structure, they have taken many of the books that you should just be included and not considered premium and put them in premium. So there is less of a selection on there. And it gets on my nerves. I happened one too many times where I clicked on something and they told me I didn't have enough credits. And I was like, okay, no. So that is also on pause. But while it is on pause, I still have access to all the books that I have previously downloaded. The next thing that I want to talk about is Spotify Premium. Spotify added audiobooks to its premium accounts in 2023 for the price of a premium account, which gives you access to, regular music and podcasts. You also get 15 hours of free monthly audiobook listening. Now, this can be good or bad. If your ebook is short, you win. I mean, if your audiobook is short, you win. But for longer audiobooks, if you listen to several audiobooks a month, you will run out of minutes. It is really, think of it as a 1 credit per month type situation, just like everybody else, depending on the book. I currently have On Morrison by Namwali Sapel up for this month. It's 12 hours and 55 minutes. I just finished a book that I had left over from last month. So now I have just enough credits left over. So basically, like I said, I would say the audiobook edition is a nice perk if you are already paying for Spotify, but I wouldn't sign up for Spotify for the audiobooks alone. I basically see it as a nice perk if you're already paying, like I said. The next alternative to Audible that I want to chat about is your library. And there are 2 options here. You have Hoopla Digital, which I am so sad to say that I just discovered recently, like in January. And I'm like, where have I been? Not just for audiobooks, this is an aside, not just for audiobooks, but ebooks too. It is amazing. It is amazing. That's all I got to say. If you have a valid library card with a participating library, Hoopla lets you instantly borrow any audiobooks in their catalog for free. No wait times. How many books you can borrow each month is set by your library's limit, then set to automatically be returned after 2 to 3 weeks. You can borrow a set number of titles each month, depending on your library's limits. I think mine is like 10. Then they're automatically set to be returned, like I said, after 2 to 3 weeks. The second alternative is the Libby app or Overdrive. Libby has many more titles than Hoopla, but you will most likely have to wait to get your book. And that's because with Libby, libraries just pay once per audiobook that they own for lending out. So if they pay for 3, they only have 3 to lend. So think about that. So that's why, like, when you go to your library, it's a long wait. Like, sometimes the waits are horrific. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. It's gonna be I have waited months for books with the library. So this is also why me and as an impatient Aries also has so many options available to me because I don't like to wait. I'm impatient and I admit that. I was gonna leave off Apple, but Apple Audiobooks is also an alternative. I've not used it frequently, so I can't tell you much. I've only used it once for one book because Audible at the time was having was acting a complete fool. It's Prince Harry's book. That on Audible on audio is an excellent book, by the way. Audible had like some problems where it wasn't available, and then I went over to Apple and got it on there. And the thing about Apple is not a subscription. You can just purchase books one off if you want to, and they're really not that expensive. So that is also an alternative. So that's 7 instead of 6. Okay. So those are some alternatives to Audible if that is what you want. I will leave a link to sign up for all of these in the show notes so that you can check them out. And I hope that you find the service that is perfect for you. Remember that no matter what everybody else likes to use, you have to find something that works for your lifestyle and your budget. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Now, let's talk about what is currently going on in my reading life. I am currently loving book club. I don't feel like I talk about it enough on here, but I run a virtual book club, Pouring Over Books book club. And this year, in the past, we've done we did banned books one year. And then last year we did these African American chick lit, you might want to say. And so this year we are reading all of the fictional works of the great Toni Morrison. It just so happens that there are 12 fictional books and it fits perfectly into our year. We are reading them in publication order. So we have already read The Bluest Eye and Sula. And we are currently reading my personal favorite, Song of Solomon. I haven't read this book in years, since like my early 20s now, and I am in my late 40s, in case you didn't know. I believe, and my experience reading it is that this time is different than what I remember. That's not to say it's not good. It's just that reading it with a critical eye gives me a different perspective or a different experience, you might want to say. I am loving the discussions that we are having during our book club meetings because some of my book club members have far more insight into these books than me and the entire book club. And I love that for the entire book club. I mean, we are only on our second week of reading Song of Solomon. So you can still join us. It's $5 a month. Or $55 for the entire year. And I always say for the people who don't want to commit, like if you just want to sit with us and read Beloved next month, you can just come in and then cancel after that. If you read all of her books up until say like Tar Baby, and you never read some of the newer books and you want to join us in the second half of the year, you can do that. You know, I'm like, hey, join us whenever you can. You can dip in and out all year. We would love to have you. I love our little group, and I am really enjoying diving deep into these books because sometimes when you just read them alone, things that are just left up to interpretation and you don't know if you're right, you don't know if you're wrong, you don't know if you're on track. And it's so helpful to speak about these books with other people who might see it from a different perspective than you, who might bring different history with them into understanding the books. Some who have English majors, and that's helpful. That's real helpful. All I have is English and a whole bunch of English classes and a love of reading and deep research. I've researched these books to death. It's almost like a second job, y'all. But I put a lot into the the discussion emails that we send out every week and the discussion questions for our book club meeting. So I just wanted to put that out there, and I hope that anyone who wants to join us will. Okay? All right. So check us out. Now, what I just finished reading, friends. Last week I finished Ken by Tayari Jones. Y'all, I love this book almost from the very first page. This is the story of two motherless girls who grow into two motherless young women and the choices that they make because of it. It starts out in Honeysuckle, Louisiana, and then our story splits between Atlanta, where Bernice goes to college to find security in the family she never had, while Annie goes to Memphis to find the mother that abandoned her. This is a story about sisterhood, found family, sexuality, family, chosen family, race, and grief. And almost every character in this book is shaped by their mother in some way. It is a great examination of the impressions and the what is the word? Anyway, when I think of good writing, I think about books like this, writers like Tayari Jones. This was thought provoking, it was entertaining, it was heartbreaking, it was realistic, lyrical, and so many more things that I really just can't put into words right now. I know for sure that this is going to be one of my top reads for 2026. So far for the year, it is in my top two, competing with Daggermouth, which is a completely different book, but that is okay. But I am just so happy that I decided to read this book. 10 out of 10. Like I said, five stars. So let's move on to my current read. So for my ebook read, I was blessed with Misconnections by Tia Williams that comes out in June. As I am recording this episode, I am about at 35% in and I love it. The premise is basically an anxiety prone woman meets a stranger on a plane and they bond so hard she thinks he's her soulmate, but she doesn't get his name, number, anything, nothing. And he doesn't have social media. So enter a retired investigator whom she has a history with to help her find her dream man. Hijinks and romance is ensuing right now. It is classic Tia Williams, and I love that for me. I will try to hold my official review until closer to the release date in June. But I'm going to tell you right now, go ahead and pre-order this one. It's good. It is good. Now, for my physical book, besides Song of Solomon, I am also reading The Redo List by Denise Williams. It is a little rom-com romance, and let me tell you what it's about. Willow wants her first back, and her brother's best friend turns out to be the perfect accomplice. What starts as an innocent checklist of do-overs because, she did all of her first with her boyfriend who she had a very public breakup with, and it was very embarrassing. It was all over TikTok. Anyway, what starts off as an innocent checklist of do-overs slowly becomes something neither of them saw coming. Deacon promised Cruz, her brother, that he'd look out for Willow and not fall for her. But somewhere between first dances and stolen kisses and keeping that promise gets a lot harder. She's only in town for so long and he's already in too deep. So with an end date looming and a lifelong friendship on the line, they have to decide if what they found is worth risking everything for. This is like cute, syrupy sweet. It's the perfect little rom-com. I'm really enjoying it. Now, for my audiobook, I am listening to On Morrison, like I talked about before, by Namwali Serpel. It came out in February, I think, and it is an exploration of the work of Toni Morrison. The first chapter is called On Difficulty, and it sums up the way straightforward women are considered difficult, especially straightforward Black women, especially Toni Morrison, who was not known to be easy, quote unquote. There was a lot of discourse a few weeks ago online about folks saying, "Oh, she was mean to me." And I'm like, "Really? How old are we?" But anyways, I'd ask because like I said, how old are we? But anyway, I am fascinated by how this book is structured. It's a series of essays on each one of her books. I am on Sula right now, and I am debating if I want to wait until I finish reading Song of Solomon to read that chapter. But if you like Toni Morrison, or if you are like us in reading her body of work this year, I think it is the perfect companion to that. I listened to the author on the Stacks podcast. She was on there talking about it, and I was like, sold immediately, started listening, and I'm like, yes, this is fascinating. It really is fascinating. Okay, friends, that is all we have today. As always, if you enjoyed listening, I'd love it if you would follow me on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. And if you have a minute, please think about leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or sharing the podcast on your favorite social media platform. It helps us grow and find other bookish friends. If you'd like to connect with me, you can email me at pornoverbookspod@gmail.com or my personal IG and TikTok at LaShawn Wells. I'm more often on IG than TikTok. Just saying. Anyway, thanks again for listening, and I will talk to you later, friend. Bye bye.